What's up, A to Z Sports Live on a Monday. What a weekend it was in the state of Tennessee as the Tennessee Volunteers upset Alabama in Neyland Stadium 52-49 on that game-winning 40-yard field goal from Chase McGrath. A to Z Sports Live, a Titans bye week. Lets us talk a little bit about the Vols this morning. There is news when it comes to the Titans, and it's the fact that Mike Vrabel emailed the NFL about the refs. Mike Vrabel will have a press conference today at 11:15. Sam Phelan will be covering that. Also, a new stadium deal has been agreed upon with the Titans and Mayor John Cooper. There will be a press conference then as well. So we'll talk about all that, reacting to those press conferences tomorrow here on A to Z Sports. But today is about the Vols, now up to being the number 3 team in the country after beating the Alabama Crimson Tide for the first time in 16 years. And jumping up to that number 3 spot. So, Zach, we're going to react to it as college football erupted as down goes Bama. So welcome in. We're going to have a couple of really good questions here and content, as well as we've got some videos from the reaction with one word to describe the Vols beating Alabama Saturday night. And then, do you think the Vols are a legit national championship contender? Because Georgia's still ahead on the schedule. Zach, welcome in. We've got to Ask Me Anything after we talk Vols today. But once again, Tennessee and Ole Miss still ranked top 10 for the second week. It usually doesn't happen for us.
Ever. Ever.
No. Weird times, but we're here.
Yeah, we are here. I don't know how long we'll be here, but we're here now, undefeated. This, it's October. It's deep into October, and neither Ole Miss or Tennessee has lost. It's kind of weird. I don't really know what to expect, but both have good football teams. I don't know the great level. We'll talk about the great level, but both have good football teams. We do have a lot to discuss over this weekend as the Titans are on bye, as Austin said that. We are broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. It's Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Make sure you hit the subscribe button on our YouTube page. If you're a Titans fan, you're a Vols fan, if you like Tennessee sports content, A to Z Sports Nashville is where to go. Get you locked in and subscribe on our YouTube channel. And also, we'll be tweeting out segment by segment on our Twitter at A to Z Sports. You can follow us there. And Facebook. Bottom left corner of your screen, share now to public. Sharing is caring, and caring is sharing on this show. Please share the show around. Bottom left corner of your screen, share now to public. We need to pop up in your Facebook friends news feed. So share that thing around. More people will be piling in. Let's get this party started on a Monday morning.
Yep, let's do it officially. Welcome to A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. We are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, and we go live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Find links to the show on our Twitter timeline, also Instagram, and hit us up on TikTok as well. We got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us, and they help out you guys with Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process by going to see them in Lebanon or at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Farm Bureau Health Plans, they are corporate sponsors of the Tennessee Volunteers. Find a better health plan for you at fbhp.com/ATOZ. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care, plus Hughes and Coleman. If you've been injured in a car wreck, call them today for a free case consultation. Hughes and Coleman Injury Lawyers at 800-800-4600, principal office in Nashville, Tennessee. So, Zach, exhale for Vol Nation, for me. I was up in the state of Kentucky over the weekend at a cabin with my wife and dogs, having a hiking weekend, but glued to my computer screen watching that game on the deck all afternoon Saturday. But there were so many different times that I thought Tennessee lost that game Saturday night against Alabama, but they win. A 40-yard field goal goes through barely by about a yard and a half from Chase McGrath, the Vols kicker after a transfer from USC. Let's go to section YY10. Santoval on Twitter posted this, an incredible reaction in Neyland Stadium. 21,000 people see that, and then down go the goalpost. Sandoval there on Twitter with that video. Zach, the Neyland Stadium broke the decibel record in college football history with 124 decibels when that kick went through the uprights there. And also, according to the weather services, a seismic shift. The earth moved a little bit there. That's the first time that's happened in college football in 2013, since 2013, where a seismic shift happened in a college football game. What was your reaction as you were watching in Oxford after Ole Miss beat Auburn earlier in the day?
Well, look, I was going for Tennessee because any Alabama loss, look, Ole Miss in the West, so I don't pull any punches. I went to Ole Miss. I cheer for Ole Miss, and I wanted Alabama to lose. I don't know how much that will help our chances of getting into the SEC championship game because we still got to play Alabama later this season. But I think most of Oxford and most of the country was cheering for Tennessee to beat Alabama. It is really hard to beat them. Not many teams have beat them. Ole Miss, we had to cheat to beat them twice. It worked, which was nice. And the good thing is you don't get punished too bad for cheating. Tennessee, I don't feel like even got punished for their sanctions from Jeremy Pruitt. I feel like that has just been brushed under the rug. And it's going to be hard for them.
Look, they've limited their own scholarships.
Yeah, it's a bunch of BS. But the point is that it's very difficult to beat the Alabama Crimson Tide when Nick Saban is the head coach. And Tennessee, I mean, Vegas knew it. I think the college football game day crew knew it. This was a great opportunity for Tennessee to take advantage of Alabama, which Bryce Young, their star Heisman quarterback, not 100% healthy, but was going to play. And I think he had to play because they knew the level of quality of football team that Tennessee was. Mm-hmm. And it ended up being, I mean, this is an epic game. This is an all-time game. You know how, and I kind of think about it in the sense of, Bills Chiefs was yesterday, and we had that epic playoff game in the divisional round a season ago between Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. And yesterday's game was unbelievable. This is like one of those regular season all-timers between Tennessee and you remember the blocked field. I know you remember it. The blocked field goal, in Alabama when, Tennessee almost beat them. Now it's years after years after years. It feels like decades. And finally, Tennessee nips Alabama. Now we'll talk later in the show about, later on in the season, this is just one step. They got by Florida. Now they got by Alabama. You still have Georgia looming, but well-earned and deserved victory by the Tennessee Volunteers on Saturday.
Yeah, and you mentioned the 2009 loss, Terrence Cody blocking that Daniel Lincoln field goal. The whole city of Savannah hated the group I was with when we were watching that game. But Jonathan Crompton, who does the halftime and postgame show for us here on the A to Z Sports Network, was the starting quarterback for the Vols with Lane Kiffin as the head coach. And I texted Crompton afterwards, like, there's your 2009 redemption, man. And so Crompton had a great weekend. Charlie Burris created some hilarious content as well in the postgame show. Go check that out if you haven't. But like to the football side of things, incredible because of what Tennessee has offensively. In just 18 months ago, they had the most dreadful offense in the SEC, watching what Jarrett Garantano and Jeremy Pruitt and Jim Chaney were putting out there. And now they have an offense that just hung 52 points on Nick Saban's defense. The most points scored on Alabama since the 1907 type season. And you got Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt combining for 5 touchdowns. Alabama only tackled Jalen Hyatt one time Saturday night. He scored 5 freaking touchdowns and had over 200 yards. Hendon Hooker was only sacked one time, and it wasn't by Will Anderson. Hendon Hooker and the Vols offense ran for over 180 yards on Alabama's defense. And it's not like this is Alabama's defense during a rebuild. Alabama's defense this season was top 5 in points allowed in the country out of 130 teams. Tennessee's defense was allowing 1 million passing yards a game. Alabama threw for 1 million passing yards Saturday nights, but they made key stops when it absolutely had to, and they were able to get Bryce Young to run around enough. And credit to Bryce Young and Jahmyr Gibbs. Those two guys are freaks of nature and played a hell of a games, but Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt and Brew McCoy did just enough to get them in position to win that game. And it just feels good. It just feels great about that. So A to Z Sports here live on this Monday here, reacting to the Vols beating Alabama on Saturday night. Let's go ahead and ask our first question, everybody. The Vols are back. We'll get to college football playoff hopes and national title hopes a little bit later on. But what's one word to describe the Vols beating Alabama on Saturday night? Then I got a couple more videos that we'll play from that reaction as well. What's one word to describe the Vols beating Alabama on Saturday night in Neyland Stadium? But first, let me tell you guys about the Bone and Joint Institute. Hey, and if you're watching this show, it means you probably would like to have tickets to Tennessee, Kentucky coming up in 2 weeks in Neyland Stadium. That game's sold out, but we've got 2 tickets thanks to the Bone and Joint Institute that we're going to give away starting today. So pay attention to our social media. That post will go out later on today to give away a pair of tickets to Tennessee, Kentucky coming up in Neyland Stadium Halloween weekend. But Bone and Joint Institute in Franklin, Tennessee is your place to go to get better with your health. If you get hurt in life, if you get hurt running around Knoxville Saturday night, and you travel back to Nashville, you pulled a hamstring in your celebration, don't forget Bone and Joint Institute is the place to go to get better and have them get you back to health. They have over a dozen doctors there at Franklin that specialize in any type of injury you could possibly think of. So check them out, boneandjointtn.org.
And don't forget, we are powered by BetMGM. Download the app today. You can win some big-time money. I struggled yesterday because a lot of favorites lost in the NFL yesterday on Sunday. You could bet on college football. You could bet on the NFL. Monday night game tonight. Promo code ATOZ Sports. They're the king of sports books. Get a risk-free bet on pro football tonight up to $1,000 for new users. So new users, type in that promo code ATOZ Sports, all one word, ATOZ SPORTS, and get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's BetMGM.
All right, so what's one word to describe the Vols win over Alabama Saturday night? So we played the kick and the Santa Vol video for Neyland Stadium rushing the field. But here is, and it goes along with my one word. I'll play this video. Vols greats in the box up there in Neyland Stadium reacting to this win. Here's another great reaction to the Tennessee win.
Be with him, Lord. Be with him, Lord. Blocked. Got blocked. It went in!
So Al Wilson there at the end, Vols great, along with Leonard Little and Jamal Lewis, just guys who beat Alabama several times, but have watched their program that they're proud of not be able to for 15 consecutive years. So Zach, what's one word to describe the Vols win over Alabama? What is the chat saying here?
So Eric says speechless. Valentino says finally. Beautiful from Brad. Heupel from Mark Jones. David says finally do after all this time. You got finally coming in there from Stefan. You've got sickening from John Lester, which is pretty funny. Let's see. Oh, priceless right there. Priceless. You got to love that. Surprise, resurgence, unbelievable, finally, art from commenter McComment's face, which is a unique name right there. Generational from Jeff. Epic from Anthony. Momentum from Devin. Gratifying from Andre. Let's see here. Referees from Alex.
Can we pause there? Can I take a 30-second timeout to react to Alex's referees?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, so any Alabama fan complaining about the referees and the role that they might have played in Alabama losing, cry me a river. Alabama has gotten so many calls that have gone their way that have been absolute BS over Nick Saban's 15-year reign over college football, including one earlier this season in Texas when there could have been that call, the safety call on Bryce Young against the Longhorns. So, Valentino says Austin refs definitely cheated Alabama. No, Alabama's got penalty problems this year. It's not just the other night, but they've got penalty problems this year. They had plenty of pre-snap penalties that had nothing to do with the refs having a judgment about anything. And so if you want to say that the pass interference call that Tennessee got that waved off the other interception, if you don't want to say that was ticky-tack, then how about the pass interference call on Tennessee that allowed Bryce Young to have another chance on 4th down earlier in the game? That one on Tennessee was terrible as Brooks dragged down Tennessee's defensive back, not the other way around. So give me a break if you're talking about refs losing Alabama the game.
Yeah, it is glaring that Alabama had 17 penalties for 130 yards. But I do think you brought up the undisciplined. I think that's why Nick Saban was so upset.
Yeah.
And even Saban said that afterwards. This game was not, I don't think, necessarily all about Alabama penalties. Tennessee had the horses this year to compete, and it got to a point where it was a last-second field goal, and Tennessee made the kick. Alabama was uniquely undisciplined. You don't see their football team with the false starts and the pre-snap penalties that was pulling Saban's hair out.
Yeah.
But that was influenced by not only obviously the hostile crowd that was Neyland Stadium, but this team is a little different. Bryce Young, they had to have him. I will say this: if Bryce Young didn't play and Alabama had to use their backup, Tennessee would have won by 14 points at least.
Yeah.
And so, I think Alabama understands they go down to the wire and have a final 2-point conversion to either win or lose against Texas A&M, or at least down at the final play. And then this is not your same Alabama team, and it's not your same Tennessee team. So I don't think it was because the refs let Alabama lose or made them lose. This was just a really damn good game, and Alabama was uniquely undisciplined that we don't usually see from a Nick Saban coach football team.
Yeah. So my one word, Zach, goes to the video we just played that was that featured reactions from former Vols stars Leonard Little, Jamal Lewis, and Al Wilson. It's pandemonium. Pandemonium reigns, because that reminds me of a game those three guys were in that Tennessee won by a field goal, and pandemonium reigned in Knoxville, 1998, when Tennessee beat Florida after Steve Spurrier had Florida and the Gators just winning national championships and dominating the SEC East for most of the 90s, and Tennessee could not break through that Florida barrier. Pandemonium reigned in Knoxville Saturday night as Tennessee broke through the Bama barrier, and now they're 6-0. They're atop the country at 3rd overall, right next to Georgia, and that game coming up. We'll talk about that here in a second. But pandemonium, Zach, is my one word, because it made me think about all those huge, massive games that came down to a made or missed kick at the end of games in Neyland Stadium against Tennessee's biggest rival. So I go with pandemonium.
Yeah, I'll go with, and I thought we had some really good words from the chat, like finally or do. I'll go with club, because now Tennessee is a part of the Beat Alabama club. And that is a very exclusive club, and it doesn't happen that often. You've had Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M do it in recent years, Auburn in the Gus Malzahn era. I mean, South Carolina hasn't beat Alabama, I feel like, since Stephen Garcia was playing.
And for a long time, South Carolina, they don't play Alabama that often, but for a long time, South Carolina was the most recent SEC East team to beat Alabama.
Right? And so Georgia has done it since their emergence with Kirby Smart, but it happens few and far between. And so finally, and I talked about Ole Miss cheating their way to be able to do that. Hey, a win is a win, and a win is a win. But Mississippi State and Arkansas struggle each and every year with Alabama. They lose. And Tennessee, the unique part is they are the cross-divisional rival, so they play them every year on the 3rd Saturday in October. And finally, Tennessee is a part of this club. Now, can they continue it? It's very hard to beat now Alabama in back-to-back years, but you kind of saw, even with, the botched QB sneak a couple of years ago in Alabama that kind of cost Tennessee their opportunity. They ended up losing by 14. But this is the year they finally come a part of the club This is a new Tennessee team. This is not the Jeremy Pruitt, Derek Dooley, Butch Jones. It's not that era of football. I felt like, and I said this even when Josh Heupel got hired, Tennessee is finally starting to play the correct style of football to keep them in games. They wanted to run the football and play good defense. But Alabama did that very, very well. And then Lane Kiffin changed the dynamic of Alabama, and Alabama continued on. Tennessee finally is now kind of getting with the times, playing spread offense, scoring points, and the stars aligned for Tennessee to be able to have an experienced senior leader quarterback in Hendon Hooker to lead this particular team that I think will help them over the next 5 years in recruiting and getting stable. Hey, they still got a lot of work to do, but this is one win getting stable in the SEC, which is very difficult to do.
Yeah, and I'll talk about Hendon Hooker here in a second because, you know, with Hooker, he's 24 years old. Like, Hendon Hooker's older than Jalen Hurts, who is the only quarterback and the only undefeated team left in the NFL in his third year in the NFL. But Hendon Hooker, you know, he knows what to do. He's calm. He's so much more mature than a lot of college athletes in playing that position. And his ability to throw the deep ball and just to stay cool in big moments. Like, how insane of a play was that? 16 seconds left, and you got to cover damn near 40 plus yards to get in striking distance for a game-winning field goal, and the Vols did it with 2 seconds left on the clock. Big catch by Brew McCoy and a hell of a throw by Hendon Hooker to get them set up for that moment.
And that moment is Josh Heupel's.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. Josh Heupel's offense, go, forces you to be ready for anything. And it's the same thing of Lane Kiffin's offense and these high octane offenses. When you go down, and Tennessee does a very good job of this, their players are disciplined. They're not John. They're not yapping. They're not taunting. They're getting back to the line of scrimmage to run the next play. When you have under a minute left to play and you only have a few seconds and only a few plays to cover a large field, that's when that discipline in Josh Heupel's offense helps. Now, let's not forget, and Rob brings this up, let's not forget that the defense gave up 49 points.
Well,
but
42,
you can't
42,
score a ton of points without giving up points.
They gave up 42.
Or 42.
They have 42 points because
okay, 42 versus 49. You're still 40 plus.
Yes, but again, I want to get into that. That's real quick. Titanium Titan asks, "How old are you, Austin?" I'm 32 years old. The last time Tennessee beat Alabama, I had my driver's license for 6 months. Like that's how long it's been. Dang near half my life that I have watched in a row Tennessee lose to Alabama. So that's how big that is. There's a lot of, I saw videos of 15-year-old kids that had never seen this before who are about to get their driver's license the next year, get it for the first time. So let's talk about this in the defense here in a second, because I do want to ask this question and I want to dive in on some of my opinion as well. And that is, are the Vols legitimate national championship contenders? Do you think the Vols are a legit national championship contender? And that really has a lot to do with that defense that was brought up in that last comment. Do you think the Vols are a legit national championship contender? But Zach, tell everybody about Farm Bureau Health Plans.
Yeah, FBHP.com. Look, they're the official sponsor of the Titans. They sponsor the Vols. They got you covered when it comes to your health plan. I switched my health plan at the beginning of 2022, and I'm really glad that I did. Better service, better coverage at a better rate. I reap the benefits of all three, and my rate is 20% less than my old previous health plan. And it doesn't matter if you're single, if you're about to get married, if you're married, if you've got 2 kids, 1 kid, 4 kids, it doesn't matter. They have your perfect plan for you individually and your family. So plan on Farm Bureau Health Plans for health, dental, and vision, 200 plus locations across the state of Tennessee. Start today by visiting fbhp.com/ATOZ.
Also, download the BetMGM app, and if you use our code ATOZ Sports, you get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's a risk-free bet up to $1,000 with the BetMGM app. When you download the app and you plug in our code ATOZ Sports, you make your first deposit and boom, that unlocks that risk-free bet on pro football up to $1,000. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older. Tennessee only new customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualifications and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued non-withdrawable free bets or site credit. For bets expire in 7 days. For problem game support, call Tennessee Redline 800-889-9789. Do you think the Vols are legitimate national championship contenders? It's a yes or no. And Zach, I can't wait to see what the chat thinks. Do you think the Vols are legitimate national championship contenders? What is the chat saying?
A lot of yeses. Richter says yes. Mark says yes. Steven says yes. Eric says C, so that's yes. Honky Tonk says yes. Tyler says, and brings up the Georgia thing, which we'll talk about, but he says yes. Definitely. You've got no, you've got hell yes, you've got yes, you've got 100% yes. Yep. I mean, Zoe says no, but overall, you know, I think you got to define contender, right? How do you define contender?
Making the college, being a part of the probably top 6 when the rankings are coming out for the final time, right? Like having a chance to make it in the playoffs after championship Saturday. Does that make sense? It's complicated.
I would say before championship Saturday, because we know what the committee bases there, and there's only 4. That's the problem. That's why I hate it. So
which is why it's also why it's changing.
You're a contender before championship Sunday or Saturday in this sense. Not after, because after you kind of know what happens.
Yeah, going into it, yes. Okay, I'll give you that. Yeah.
So can you, and I think this is the unique part about this question is, can Tennessee play on championship Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, they can, but I think right now they're a contender like if the only loss is Georgia and Tennessee's 11-1 going in the SEC championship game, not being a part of it, Georgia's in there for the East. Tennessee's still a national title contender before that weekend because all they got to do, sit at home, kick their feet up and hope a couple teams lose and drop back. So if they beat Georgia, then obviously they're 12-0 and they're in the SEC title game. They're a national title contender going into that. So regardless of the outcome of the Georgia game, if we're going by that breakdown of logic, which I think is fair, I think yes is the answer. Is that kind of how you feel?
I think the hard part for me is Georgia is very similar to Tennessee. They've got an experienced quarterback there, and Georgia is obviously the defending national champions, right? So they have that on their back. I don't think Tennessee or Georgia will lose another game. So they're going to, I think that whoever wins that game is going to go undefeated just based on looking at their schedule. I think Georgia's scare has already happened. I think Missouri was their scare. And I think they righted their ways. They won that game and they're kind of moving forward. Here's the tough part. I feel like in the scenario you just gave me, the likeliness that Tennessee could be last year's A&M is pretty high. And you never know because Alabama more than likely is going to be in the mix. Here's the one thing of why I would say yes. And it goes back to politics. I know that there is a committee that votes on this. The committee has a best interest in mind. And I believe that they understand that people are tired of Georgia and Alabama and the teams that have been the same over and over again. I think that the committee sees the value of Tennessee and they will get the benefit of the doubt. Now, I don't know in what scenario that happens where Tennessee can sneak their way in, but I do think they are a contender regardless of winning or losing at Georgia because the committee will give Tennessee, because of their fan base, because of their money, because of this storyline, Josh Heupel, college football, what it represents. Hendon Hooker, I think, is there, right? Because of the Heisman thing that we're going to continue on down this path. Beating a former Heisman Trophy winner in Bryce Young helps you in the Heisman voting when the actual, votes are cast. So I do think, yes, because of some political things, it's going to come down to Georgia and Tennessee.
Sure.
And then what, and this is what you don't want. And this is, I'm just going to look into a crystal ball. What you don't want, I don't expect Ole Miss to beat Alabama. I think Ole Miss can. I don't expect them to. I don't think Tennessee wants to play Alabama in the SEC championship game.
No.
Because I think Alabama will beat them.
Then let's remember this, because Alabama would usually they get
revenge.
But they didn't. They beat Georgia in the SEC title game, then lost to Georgia in the national title game. I still say if Jamison Williams doesn't tear his ACL in the national title game, Bama is your champion. That's just my opinion. But I think we have to remember this: there was no Cedric Tillman. Jalen Hyatt scored 5 touchdowns. Jalen Hyatt is not Tennessee's best wide receiver. Again, one more time. Jalen Hyatt is not Tennessee's best wide receiver. That is Cedric Tillman. He could be back, probably will be back for that Kentucky game. And now you've got a guy who's already scored 10 touchdowns in 6 games flanked next to him. And you've got Brew McCoy, who's come up big in several moments. And you've got Ramel Keaton, who's got a lot of experience. So you've got that. And let's remember this fact too. Tennessee's secondary was really limited in that game. They were without Jalen McCullough because of the arrest the previous week. We don't know what his situation is going to be. So let's just say he's not even back, right? But Kamal Hadden, their best corner, was out. He will be back. They lost 2 other corners in the game that did not return. So they were down to guys playing corner that I have never heard of. And I follow the team. I'm a Tennessee fan. I'm a Tennessee graduate. I'd never heard of the guys that were playing cornerback against Alabama. And they still, they gave up 42 points to Bama's offense, but they got big stops when they had to. And I counted this up this morning. Tennessee's defense does not get enough credit. They get box score judged and they get stat judged. And I understand it. But Alabama's offense had 11 possessions. Tennessee's defense gave up 5 touchdowns to Alabama's offense. So 6 times they forced a field goal attempt or a punt. That's pretty good. If you look at it,
said Austin, Alabama's also not going to have 130 yards worth of penalties the next time they play. And that was massive because it put them even further behind the sticks to start. All those false starts, I felt like it happened. It was now all of a sudden it's 1st and 15 and you're playing a different game, right? So to all of your points, there has to be another side. Alabama ain't going to have $130 and all those penalties racked up. They'll play more disciplined because it won't. Look, Tennessee fans will travel, and this is all like ifs and buts, right? We're projecting if Tennessee plays Alabama again in the SEC championship. Hell, I hope Tennessee plays Ole Miss. Tennessee probably hopes that they play Ole Miss, right? So, But you got to get through Georgia, Austin, and Georgia is the number 1 team in the country. Georgia is the best team. It's not Tennessee. All the people saying that they thought Tennessee should be number 1 in the country after beating Alabama, that is factually incorrect.
I agree.
Georgia should be number 1.
Right.
You could argue behind that, but Georgia has earned that right, and they're going to have to play a tough game, and it's going to be at home in Athens.
Yes.
You don't get the benefit of Neyland. This is a whole new scenario. You've had the Hail Marys in the past, but this is a whole new scenario that Tennessee and that Georgia game, that's prime time.
Oh, it's going to be great. And I think, I agree. The AP voters got this correct when you look at how the rankings came out. Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, Tennessee 3, Michigan 4. Here's my favorite part about the top 4 is Georgia and Tennessee, SEC East. Ohio State, Michigan, same division in the Big Ten. I don't know if it's Legends or Leaders or East or West anymore, but they're in the same division. So they will play each other. So I think you talked about how the committee makes it, there's political factors that go into that. I think the AP poll and the AP voters, the 50 people that make up that group, did everybody a favor by saying, look, the top 4 teams, they're going to play each other. So let's let it play out on the field and figure out which one comes out. That was the right thing to do.
Well, and you also have all 4 teams you're going to play, as you said, how those games go matter, right? How the eye test, Alabama losing to Tennessee on a last-second field goal helps Alabama it's going to be a loss anyway, but it helps Alabama on how you lose. So Tennessee has to take that into consideration when they play Georgia. You can't go down to Athens and get blown out. You have to have it a competitive game, or whatever team is going to win, we're going to find that out. Yeah. But it's going to shake things up in the top four, which this is what, if there's only 4 teams, you want a lot of movement throughout the course of the season. You don't want just 4 and 4. That's not how college football wants this to be.
Yeah, A to Z Sports here live on this Monday, reacting to the Vols win over Alabama. Let's look ahead a little bit. The Kentucky game, look, Tennessee plays UT Martin. They will win that game and cover the 50-point spread most likely. Then Kentucky comes to Neyland Stadium. We are giving away.
Watch out for Kentucky too.
Yeah, and I was driving and walking around the state of Kentucky yesterday with a big old Volunteer shirt, and I got a bunch of Kentucky fans saying, we don't want that smoke. I got Kentucky fans being like, great win. We don't want to see you guys in 2 weeks, but we're going to have to do it. And so anyway, Kentucky is coming to Neyland. Will Levis is back after his injury, missing some time. So we'll see what that looks like. And then it's the Georgia game. I want to go through why I think Tennessee can beat Georgia. So why I think Tennessee can beat Georgia. But first, let me tell everybody about the official injury lawyers of the Tennessee Titans. It's Hughes and Coleman. Look, I was driving in Kentucky over the weekend, and Kentucky is represented by Hughes and Coleman as well across the state. They have won over $1 billion in winnings for their clients across the state of Tennessee and in Kentucky over the last 3 decades. And they will do the same thing for you if you've been injured in a car wreck. So call Hughes and Coleman, the official injury lawyers of the Tennessee Titans, at 800-800-4600 for a free case consultation and have them go fight the insurance companies for you instead of you doing it yourself. Insurance companies are big. Insurance companies are rich. You can't win that battle by yourself. You go to Hughes and Coleman, who has delivered over $1 billion to their clients across the state of Tennessee and in Kentucky, and let them be a part of your team. Again, for a free case consultation, if you've been injured in a car wreck, call Hughes and Coleman, official injury lawyers of the Titans, at 800-800-4600, principal office in Nashville, Tennessee.
BetMGM, we are powered by them. Our morning show loves BetMGM. You should too. If you are thinking about getting into the sports gambling game, you got to download BetMGM. Austin and I had bets over the weekend. We consistently talk about them. We've got our A to Z Sports Bet Show each and every Friday with Alan Bell and Brian Edwards. Promo code ATOZ Sports. You get a risk-free bet up to $1,000 for new users. They're the king of sports books. Go into your app, whether it's your Apple or Android app store, and download the app today.
All right, so I think Tennessee can beat Georgia. I'm not predicting that Tennessee is going to beat Georgia, but they absolutely can. One, I think the fact that Hendon Hooker is as mature as he is at age 24 in his 6th year in college football overall gives Tennessee a massive edge when playing on the road in hostile environments. Josh Heupel, in his first 18 games as Tennessee's head coach, has won 3 road games against ranked opponents. Now, you can argue the quality of those ranked opponents, but that's just the fact. Tennessee had not had a head coach, and they've had plenty of them, win 3 road games versus ranked opponents in their first 18 games since Philip Fulmer did it back in the early 90s. So that's a big deal. They beat Kentucky at Kentucky when Tennessee was unranked. Kentucky was ranked top 20. They won at Pittsburgh and that was in a raucous environment at Pittsburgh in week 2 of this year, and went down and wiped the floor in Baton Rouge with LSU's blood there earlier this month. So they've got that going for them, so they can go on the road and handle themselves. Georgia has not seen anything like this Tennessee offense. If we remember, Tennessee was the one team that broke through Georgia's defense last year first before Alabama did it in the SEC title game. So Tennessee is better offensively this year than they were last year. They've only had 9 sacks allowed on Hendon Hooker in 6 games, which is a lot better offensive line production. They're deeper at running back. They're deeper at wide receiver this year than they were a year ago. And I think Tennessee's offense will get Georgia. They can score on Georgia. Georgia's defense is good. It's not great like it was last year with all those draft picks. And secondly, I don't think Georgia's offense is that scary. And Georgia's offense is not like Alabama's offense. Alabama's offense is explosive, dynamic, and can beat you over the top. Georgia's offense is big, physical, powerful, and methodical. They don't just explode down the field with chunk plays like Alabama does. They don't. Stetson Bennett's a good player, but he's not like Bryce Young out there making plays and run around like a superstar. They have they run the ball. Tennessee's run defense is very good. Their pass defense is bad. And I don't think Georgia has the overall skills and talent at wide receiver and pass catcher outside of Bowers that really scares me. So that's why I think Tennessee can beat Georgia in Georgia next month.
I think both teams can win. I think it's going to be a very even matchup. I do think actually one of the biggest storylines of that game is Trap Game Central. Georgia's got to play Florida before that, and Tennessee's got to play Kentucky. Those are two okay football teams. I mean, Kentucky just beat Mississippi State, which was, I think, a surprise to some people based on what Mississippi State was doing. But you've got to get past them. Will one of these teams stumble? I mean, I think that could be. I don't know what's going to happen before this game. You got to watch out for Bowers. Bowers is their best pass catcher right up the seam, and he can gouge you. I do think at the end of the day that it will come down to defense. And you can get into a shootout. Tennessee has to play better defense, and Georgia has to play better defense. I can't wait. I mean, that's going to be like, as far as hype, I think Tennessee Alabama is going to probably be the best football game that we see possibly this year. But the hype of Tennessee Georgia this late in the year is going to be at an all time.
Yeah, and Ricochet Ray is laughing at Georgia's best receiver being a tight end. Yeah, but that guy's really freaking good. Like, Brock Bowers was NFL ready last year as a true freshman. He's a freak. Darnell Washington is also basically a transformer. He's like 6'7", nearly 300 pounds. They can hurdle people. I do think they should penalize Darnell Washington for hurdling and then kicking defenders in the face, because he's done that a couple of times this year, and that's just flat out dangerous. But Georgia I don't think they're as good as they were a year ago, which makes me feel
they don't have the same players. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the NFL, and even last night, the Eagles' first round pick, Georgia defensive lineman, right? Like, they're peppered all throughout. Those guys are gone. That's one of a main reason why they won the national championship last year. But they are still good. And here's the other thing. Well coached. Kirby Smart is a damn good football coach. He disciplines his football team. They play the way that they're supposed to. And even the Missouri scare, Georgia got back right. Look, I think Tennessee is well coached too, so I'm not just sitting there praising Georgia. I think Josh Heupel has earned the trust of his team. And you got the storyline for me, it's going to come down to the defenses, but going into the game, it's these two experienced quarterbacks. Hendon Hooker has played a lot of football. Stetson Bennett has played a lot of football. How are those guys going to play on that Saturday?
Yeah, they're both 24 years old. Like, they're both old. They're
you
both
should
grown
be in
men.
college.
Like, and that's the thing. Like, I was talking, like, as we were driving back through Kentucky this past weekend, my wife and I were talking about the game and everything. And it's like, what makes college football so exhilarating is that 18 to 22-year-old kids are completely unpredictable in how they handle big moments. Like, an 18 to 20-year-old kid makes the mistake on punt return for Alabama by trying to pick up the football when he should have just let it stop there and gave Tennessee the ball back, right? But a 24-year-old guy doesn't make that type of mistake. Like, those 2 years or 3 years or 4 years of age is a big deal when it comes to maturity mentally and physically. And so I think Hendon Hooker and Stetson Bennett having that age on their opponents and who they're playing against is a big deal. They just process things differently because of the experience they have.
Yeah, well, will this be the year? Here's the other thing that I wanted to say about Tennessee and what happened on Saturday. I'm from Nashville. I've got a lot of people that love the Vols over there, my friends. There's a huge, group chat of all my fantasy football. buddies that are Tennessee fans, and they're going crazy. And I don't know how many times I've been texted or told the Vols are back in the last 20 effing years. I do think that after this win against Alabama, that the saying the Vols are back rings more true today than it ever has in the last 20 years, or maybe some change. But that's how I felt, is that this was real. It wasn't phony. It was like they had been tested. They had played really good football before. They went down to the wire and played a tough game against Pitt, as you referenced earlier this season. They whooped LSU in Baton Rouge. And then they obviously had the ending of the Alabama game. So they had been tested before. This wasn't just like, that's kind of a little bit of my concern for Ole Miss. Ole Miss has gone through this win streak. They beat Kentucky, where their running backs were, they didn't have all of their running backs, and then they beat a bad Auburn team. They still got to play Alabama. They still got to play A&M. They still got to play Mississippi State, and they got to play Arkansas. And this is my truth, I am a Ole Miss fan. I think Ole Miss is more phony than Tennessee. I think Tennessee has proven that they've earned that top 3 spot.
Yeah.
And, I think they're 2 wins away from being in the SEC championship game, in the sense of they beat Kentucky and they beat Georgia. I think they're going to the SEC championship game.
Yeah, Missouri's no good. South Carolina, they're not very impressive.
That will be a lot of good jawing, though, South Carolina weekend, though.
And the good thing for Tennessee, so for Tennessee fans that are always stuck in the bad thing's going to happen at some point mindset, which granted is valid to have for the last 15 years, is that if Tennessee beats Georgia, there is zero letdown because you know what you're going for.
Yeah, you're not playing for a national
You're playing Missouri, South Carolina, and Vanderbilt are all inferior opponents, but you're playing for everything.
And
so there is no letdown.
The reason why Georgia is so big, all Tennessee, or not, I don't want to say all, but Tennessee really needs to get into that SEC title game so they can duke it out probably against Alabama. Because even if they lose, there's still a chance for them to get in.
And Mark says, let's win them all. Right. That's the good thing again about the schedule. Regardless of the outcome of the Georgia game, Missouri, South Carolina, Vandy, you're still playing for something really freaking big. You still have an opportunity to take care of business, to be 11-1, and have an opportunity to be alive for the college football playoff. Alabama's shown it can be done by not playing in your conference championship game and getting in because of whatever happens on championship weekend. It is still alive. And
I want to bring up Robert's comment. It says, Zach, Alabama has been racking up penalties all year, the most penalized team in the league. What makes you think they'll suddenly stop committing penalties the next time they play Tennessee? Robert, my answer to that is the next time they play Tennessee will be in the SEC championship game. That's usually when coaching comes to its peak, and that's where Saban has been very, very good in those SEC championship games, where his teams perform like they're expected to perform. So that's where I give Alabama the benefit of that doubt.
And I'll say this about Alabama's penalty situation, because Jonathan Crompton brought this up in our post-game show on the same A to Z Sports channels you're watching now, Saturday night. Alabama is winning in the transfer portal. They're bringing in guys that are new to the system, not like they're homegrown recruits. So is the discipline embedded into those guys yet? Like Jahmyr Gibbs is a freak player. He was unbelievable at Georgia Tech last year as a running back, and Alabama got him, and now he's a freak of nature. But he had a false start, right? Lining up as a receiver. Does he have that Bama expectation of not having mental mistakes? And they have an offensive lineman who transferred in from Vanderbilt. He had a couple penalties on Saturday night. So the transfers aspect of that is an interesting thing that I didn't think about until Crompton brought it up Saturday.
Yeah, no, I think that is a very good point.
And Ricochet Ray said something that I wanted to bring up too early in the comments about Tennessee He says, I'm sick of doubting this team. They leveled up every week this season and showed no signs of stopping, just hung 52 on Bama, left 14 points on the field. Vols the best team in the country. Yeah, they left points on the field. And that's the crazy thing is they could have scored more. Hendon Hooker barely overshot Ramel Keaton on a 4th down play call that I don't think was the smartest thing that they should have done. And then I said this last week when you were out, Zach, Tennessee put up 40 points on LSU and Baton Rouge, and they didn't play that great on offense, but they still scored 40, and they left opportunity out there then. So I think overall, winning the game at Pittsburgh in overtime by 7 points and having the defense come up big and the offense only score 34 was a good thing for the maturity of this team. Winning ugly and learning and gaining confidence from winning ugly at Pitt was a benefit to them later throughout the year.
2 things. And I see this comment saying, Thomas saying, assuming Alabama will go to the SEC championship game. Thomas, I hope to God that Alabama does not go to the SEC championship game. I think Ole Miss has an opportunity as they play in a couple of weeks to upset them and maybe do something special. But I think we always have to assume that Alabama is going to go to the SEC championship game because LSU is down. Texas A&M has already lost a lot of games, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Arkansas has lost some games.
Yeah, they've fallen apart.
Right? So, really, it's kind of a 2-horse race between Ole Miss and Alabama. Alabama usually wins that race. So, Ole Miss hasn't been in the SEC championship.
Where is that game?
To the 60s. At Ole Miss.
Okay.
And so here's the other thing. The other hard part for me about this whole thing, and this is the great part about college football expansion and reorganization, Ohio State hasn't played a damn team. We have Ohio State.
Notre Dame counts. Notre Dame counts.
Notre Dame sucks.
Yeah, Florida sucks, but it still counts as a victory against a ranked opponent for Tennessee.
Yeah, but I don't look at that in the same light. Tennessee played Pitt. There's not a Pitt on Ohio State's schedule that they've played so far.
Tennessee has beaten 4 ranked opponents.
Yes, that's you were proving my point.
Yeah.
My point is these slap-ass Big Ten teams, and I'm screaming at you, Big Ten Jeff. They're good because of the quality of their program. At Michigan and Ohio State get really good players. But, the SEC, and this is why SEC fans are so, angry about this, is that each year, SEC teams have to go through really tough scheduling. In the Big Ten, if you look at the Ohio State schedule, because Rutgers sucks, Wisconsin's not good this year, Toledo's not good, Arkansas State is a joke, Michigan State is not good this year.
Michigan State's terrible.
Iowa is not that good this year. Penn State is mediocre. They are not a good football team.
Beat down by Michigan, though.
They're not I think they're mediocre.
Yeah.
Northwestern, Indiana, and Maryland. No, and no. So you're really telling me that Ohio State has got to play 2, let's say, quality opponents in Penn State and Michigan, and then the Big Ten championship, in which they won't even have to play their best opponent, which would be Michigan, because it's the end of the season, because of the Legends and Larrys or whatever you want to call them. And so I think that is the struggle for college football. It will be such a relief when USC comes in and everything is shaken up, where finally good teams are going to have to play good teams in the regular season. The football fan will win. We will win because instead of Ohio State playing, Indiana, which is no good this year, they're going to have to play USC and some good teams.
Well, they'll have to play the Indianas because the Big Ten,
But but the schedule will be reconstructed. They will have to. There'll be too many teams. And college football will want to make money off of them, right? So now USC and Ohio State, because they're in the same conference, they will pair them together because of revenue instead of, high noon Indiana, Ohio State, which the outcome is going to be 59-4, right? I mean, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, look, it's going to be very interesting, and really, what I think it's going to fix is that Ohio State will not have to play Toledo, or Arkansas State. Like, those games will go away. Tennessee won't have to schedule the UT Martins of the world. Tennessee has at least been scheduling, and Ohio State did this with Notre Dame, so I kind of get it. Is that you have the one big non-conference opponent that you schedule, and the other three are easy games. That's how you should schedule right now. It would be dumb not to be honest. Like, it would be stupid to not schedule or to schedule more than one big non-conference opponent. It's just not smart as of right now, because you want to be able to get 11 or 12 wins in the regular season to play for the top four.
Well, and that's why Tennessee is getting the hype that they deserve, is because they've beaten Florida, Pitt, now Alabama. They've
LSU.
beat LSU.
At LSU.
Yeah, and there's value to, I think the way they beat LSU is valued, right?
Yes.
So that, I think, is why they are getting the praise that they have now that the dust has settled after their Bama win. So that makes more sense.
Yeah, no doubt. So look, huge for Tennessee. And you could make an argument that Tennessee losing to Georgia is the easiest way they get to the college football playoff, but you want to win the SEC East, and you want to get to Atlanta and see what happens there, because that could be pretty incredible.
Yeah, and here's the love of the show. Where did it go? Noah, way to go. Hey, Big Ten Jeff, get your party favors ready, because we can't wait for Ohio State, Illinois in the Big Ten championship, because that's what it's going to be. What a joke. It's a joke. That's what that is. Illinois is not good.
Yeah.
And God knows where Illinois is going to be at the end of the season. Let's see. They are 6-1, the Fighting Illini. Oh, they play Nebraska, Michigan State, Purdue, Northwestern. Their only other competition the rest of the season is going to be Michigan, the second to last game. So Michigan could face, let's not forget about Michigan. They go through the same damn thing. Michigan could play Illinois, Ohio State, Illinois. That could be how it goes.
And look, real quick, Illinois does deserve a little bit of cred. Illinois has the only guy who's over 1,000 yards rushing this season in the country in Chase Brown. That guy is really good.
Austin, they haven't played a ranked team this season.
No, I know, but just
the only ranked team that is on their schedule is Michigan, the second to last team in the season. They haven't played there's not any numbers close to any of their opponents.
I know, but he's still good. Like, he's still put up in ridiculous numbers. He's rushed for 180, 146, 129, 108 against Chattanooga, where he played like a half. And then 146, 199, and 151. Like, Chase Brown is good. He's one of the best running backs in the country this year, statistically.
Because he's playing against unranked teams.
Yeah, I know, but he's still very capable.
He's very good. He's playing against unranked teams. Oh, wow. Chattanooga, Wisconsin, Iowa, Indiana. Watch out for Wyoming. Josh Allen doesn't play for Wyoming anymore.
I'm not making the case for Illinois being good. I'm saying Chase Brown is good. And Chase Brown's a good player. And maybe Chase Brown against Michigan can make a few plays and make that game really interesting. I don't know.
That's my point. That's why SEC fans are the way that we are, is because we think everybody else, because they do. They have Easy Street USA and that's about to change. I love it. The proof is about to be in the pudding over the next 10 years, because now all these teams, now look, SEC is not running away. They're not, getting West Virginia and, Kansas in there. And Kansas is a phony, as we saw over the weekend. They're adding Texas and Oklahoma, right? So, everybody's adding teams to this conference realignment. I'm pumped about it.
Kansas is a phony for being a part of the bigger picture, but Kansas is uprising is very
They're better than they were, but they're phony this year.
Yeah, well, they're phony when it comes to the big boys, but their story is still very impressive. And their coach is
But their
about to get
story
poached.
was that they were a part of the big boys. That's
No, but
that's why it's phony.
But Zach, they've been like 130 out of 130 for like the last 8 years, and
yes.
now they're at least battling to be ranked, borderline ranked. They've jumped 100 spots in college football. That's what I'm saying. Like, their story is incredible, regardless if they're not a part of the bigger picture or not this season.
And let's see, Kansas, who is now no longer ranked. Well, dude, they still have to play Baylor, Oklahoma State, Texas, and Kansas State.
Oh yeah,
they're gonna end the season with 5 losses.
But Kansas being 7-5 is
it may be 6 losses though.
But Kansas going to a bowl game is insane compared to what's happened there the last
right.
decade.
But when you're on College game day and you're, it's just I'm talking about the phonyism of what they were perceived to be.
I understand. And I don't think I never bought in on it. I thought it was a good story, and I thought it was impressive that they got to where they were. But yeah. All right. So, Zach, let's go ahead and wrap up this Monday show like we always do on Mondays with our Ask Me Anything. But first, tell us all about Wilson County Hyundai.
Wilson County Hyundai is where you need to go to get your next ride. WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Your perfect make and model is right around the corner. Quick trip down I-40 exit 236. They've got the Palisade, which is their full-size SUV. They've got a ton of different cars, including the Sonata, the Tucson, the Santa Fe, the Ioniq, which is battery-powered. So you can either get a fuel-efficient vehicle or you can get a battery-powered vehicle. That is the Ioniq. WilsonCountyHyundai.com. They've got you covered. Visit Wilson County Hyundai, Payne Bone, family owned and operated. They got you hooked up. That's WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Download the BetMGM app and you get a risk-free bet on pro football up to $1,000 when you sign up using our code ATOZ Sports. It's as simple as that. You download the app in your store, you sign up using ATOZ Sports, you plug in and deposit your first time and your first bet on pro football risk-free up to $1,000. Zach, it's time for Ask Me Anything on this Monday, where we try to dive deep into philosophical questions and find out. You missed it last week. We asked Sam if math was discovered or invented, and he about went crazy. Because he said it was invented by humans. Math was invented, and the chat just turned on Sam quick, and you could just see him spiraling out of control. He said it ruined his entire Monday and most of Tuesday doing research on if math was trying to prove that we invented math. It was a fantastic show. It was
what was the basis on the discovery?
I don't remember. It was that Sam's battle was that he said that humans invented math to prove for a way to prove that math exists or something. I don't know. It was over my head. He's recently out of college, so he's been doing
that is a curveball though. I'm gonna have to think a little bit harder.
Eric's right. Sam was arguing with his girlfriend in the car later on that day. It was it was so funny. It was great. He was.
I gotta think harder about that.
It was great.
Well,
it was people. We invented math to prove that like gravity exists. Like math.
How do you prove? Like who came up with 1 + 1 = 2?
We created numbers in order to.
So we invented numbers.
That's what Sam was saying.
Yeah. What's the argument against?
I don't know. I don't have no idea. This is way over my head. I'm good at math, but I'm not like that deep. It's I don't know. It's something that I feel like I would watch a documentary on.
Interesting. All right. This has to do with math. This is actually a math question. Our Ask Me Anything question is, when a store has double doors, why does it let you only use one of them? And this is, there could be an answer. I think that there is an answer. But when a store has double doors, why does it let you only use one of them? And that is like consistent. It's not just like every once in a while, but don't you always find that one door?
I think I know it. I think I know the answer, and I want to see if the chat says anything. So, Zach, do you have a theory on this yet? I know you just.
I have a start of a theory, but I don't know. I don't have a finish to my theory.
I think it has to do with the threat of robbery.
Oh,
And
that was
so-
not where I was going to go.
I think it has a lot of things. I think control of flow of traffic is good, but I think it's to decrease or to help slow down robbery / theft. In that, when you have the double doors and only one of them opens, there's two things here. You have like the thing on the door that shows people how tall you are, right? That, so you can measure somebody as they walk out, but it makes them go one direction. And so if there is someone trying to steal something,
funnels them to a camera or something.
It funnels them to a certain question or a certain door next to like the height thing, or in a better angle, but it also has the ability for them to use the wrong door to then slow them down to go out the other one.
So I think conceptually why there are double doors is for it to be easier to move things into
Yes,
the
double
building,
doors
right?
are for delivery and other reasons. Yes.
Correct. So that was my start of my theory of why there are double doors. Because it doesn't really make sense if you only use one of the doors, but that's kind of the justification. So I like that theory. I do. I think my other theory is let's take safety out of this, of what to do, and two things moving with people, with traffic, can create accidents.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm pulling, you're pushing, how does that work? And then what does it open to? Does it open in or does it open out? Right. So I think that there's probably some nature of that, but I actually like your philosophy better. That makes more logical sense.
Yeah.
And Thomas says it's a fire escape to increase evacuation.
Yeah. So you can open both if you guys, and Ricochet Ray says, I told you guys the answer, just scroll up. So we'll have to scroll up to see where Ricochet Ray commented. Here he goes. Because the way they lock in, the door that doesn't open is locked in place by pins. So if you unlock both, they will flip open all the time. Oh, that's a good point. Because like there's double doors. Sometimes there's a bar in the middle of the double doors where it's actually like two singles, right? But with double doors, the one door has to lock into something. And if it's both open, now you got the saloon doors, right? And so one of them's locked. So this one can actually latch. So the one you use latches.
That's got to be it.
Yeah. So not theft control. But
we had some good concepts though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so
just literally
that was kind of where I was trying to go, is that's the chaos of them.
No, it's not even that. It's just literally how doors work. To be able to have it stay closed and locked is that you have to have it, but you want the ability for both to open so you can roll something out or in or
evacuate.
Yeah. But you've got to have one of them. There you go.
I think that is the correct answer.
Ricochet Ray, big win, buddy. Good job. That was good. I like that. And Jarrell says, I feel like there are multiple correct answers here, but I think
that's the right one.
Down to the fundamental reason, Ricochet Ray has it.
Yeah. Science.
Is that science?
It's math.
Is it? I don't know.
Well, hey, I do think math
that kind of engineering.
Again, who decided that fire was going to be called fire?
Yeah, I don't know.
So that's the mystery of mankind. So you could justify that everything is invented.
Right. Real quick, Tommy Madden says, thought this was sports. This is my first time here. Well, Tommy, welcome in. This is A to Z Sports. We talked about an hour and 2 minutes about the Vols beating Alabama, and then we went into everything about the college football playoff picture and if Tennessee can beat Georgia and everything there. So welcome in to Tommy Madden. And then at the end of each show, we get a little outside of sports where we talk about random things. And today, We asked why companies that have double doors only allow you to use one door, and Ricochet Ray, boom, had the correct answer there. So welcome in. Tommy's now caught up.
And once this stream concludes, Tommy, you can start it from the beginning and we talk an hour of football.
Yeah. And Tommy says, Jarrell says, Tommy, bro, you'll love it here. Just wait till Trivia Tuesday, which is tomorrow.
That is correct.
So, Tommy, we hope to see you again. And congrats to all the Tennessee fans out there. Big win, a heck of a Saturday night, a great opportunity this season. And Tommy says Tennessee wins it all. So we'll see what happens. I did do this, Zach. I had a $5 free bet at BetMGM. I put it on the Vols plus 4,000 last week
to win the national championship.
Yeah. You know what it is now?
What?
Plus 1,600.
That's a big change.
Yeah, it's a big
change.
So
what if 5 to win?
200.
It's a good bet.
Free bet.
I don't think you're going to win it, but it's a good bet.
I don't either. But hey, I got it when it was at 4,000.
That's a plus 4,000 bet, right?
Yeah.
That's just when you bet plus 4,000, you're surprised to win.
Yeah, you're not expecting to win that thing. But hey, it's in there. It's in the holster. All right, guys. Hope you have a great rest of your Monday. Hope you have a great start to your week. We'll be back live tomorrow morning. Subscribe to the channel if you're here for the first time, like Tommy on YouTube or Facebook. Give us a like the show before you go. Subscribe to us on YouTube as well, because we go live every weekday morning. Also, Buck Rising 5 times a week on A to Z Sports Primetime. We've got our Vols halftime and postgame show with Charlie Burris and Jonathan Crompton. They do an excellent job. And then Zach and I'll be live on Sunday for Titans versus Colts. So we've got a great week of content coming up. Check out A to Z Sports.com for everything Zach Reagan, our Vols writer, and Charlie Burris have written up there as well. And we will see you guys tomorrow morning. Buck Rising live tonight, A to Z Sports Primetime. Talk to you soon. Have a great Monday. Appreciate it as always.
Adios.